Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. I had like 5 videos that I had on my channel, but then somebody let me know on one of them I didn't have any sound. I checked a bunch of the other ones and they didn't have sound, so I am redoing them. But for this reading, we are doing Scorpio energy. And like usual, we're going to do 2 rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Scorpio. They're the can be shadowy people up in that row. Because sometimes shadowy people try to present themselves as more mature or something than they really are. And the bottom row can represent more shadowy energy. It can also represent our fears, our insecurities, kind of our comfort zone. Some people right now in their Scorpio energy, which Scorpio is emotional water sign, and it can kind of be about exploring ourselves emotionally and willing to explore life more emotionally. But that can require us, the reason for the top rose reading is the Caring Connection card, which could be represented as love. And we have the Thinking Woman, which is the Queen of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, that we'd have to love ourselves enough to kind of focus more on what can be instead of focusing on the past and looking at life from a higher perspective. And then we have the man holding heart, like the King of Cups, that mentally and emotionally, I am going to focus more on the future and what can be, and staying in the energy of love, taking action in my life more out of love than love for myself, hope and faith and belief in my dreams. Aquarius energy can be about our dreams. And instead of taking action, because the masculine cards can represent about taking action, because when we go take action in the world, we're kind of taking our worldly vessel, which is kind of our more worldly egoic nature, which the masculines can represent. But then why are we doing what we're doing? And the feminine figures can talk about how we really think and feel. And so I'm going to focus on the people in my life who are also taking action from love, who are also looking to the future and not kind of repeating old patterns, and maybe have looked at those things from a higher perspective and put them in perspective and offered peace and love to those things so that they can look to the future. You know, I'm more focused on what I want to manifest than what I had tried to manifest. And the Queen of Swords can talk about feeling betrayed, that, you know, if there was things and people and ways of living my life that weren't conducive or very loving or moving forward more in love, I'm willing to see the truth of that. And I'm going to focus on taking action from love. And the Caring Connection card, reminding me of the Two of Cups, which is Cancer energy, can talk about, I have my dualistic nature and I choose to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and also maintaining balance within myself. And I'm going to take action from love. And then we have the first chakra, which can kind of talk about, at a core foundational level, our truth is, I want to look to the future. I want to take action in truth and love. I might have some people in my life who kind of harness those energies in a more shadowy way, where maybe they're more defensive to love emotionally. They might try to present themselves as loving, and I might know that they kind of wear a false mask, that really behind the mask is that they're kind of either more about themselves, more about the world and looking like a shining star in the world, or kind of harsh and critical, and, you know, it's just a false mask that they wear. And if I know some people who are like that, you know, I'm probably going to, out of love for myself, kind of keep my distance from them, because then we have the contract card, which is kind of, makes me think of the Justice card, which is Libra energy. I want more just and fair and stable and balanced relationships. And if it was just me in the past who was more defensive to taking action from love, I've kind of realized that if I don't want to keep repeating that pattern, I need to learn to love myself. And then Libra, again, represented by the scales of justice, I need to offer love to all those things of my past or my fears or my insecurities or whatever, so that I can get more balance within myself. Because when, we can either be more tipped out of balance, but when we're more balanced within ourselves and we offset our past pain, heartbreak, our fears, our insecurities with kind of love and compassion, and put things in perspective and look at life from a higher perspective. And I'm probably going to live 80 years. What kind of energy do I want to be in my life? And I don't want to keep feeling betrayed. I don't want to keep being defensive. So I'm going to work through those things to get more balance within myself. And then when we work through those things to get more balance within ourselves, and probably kind of keep our distance from some people who we think don't really work together with us in a more just and fair and loving way, it could kind of help us be more connected in the goddess of the moon card, which is Pisces energy. The moon also rules Cancer energy. That offering myself love and offering the past love and compassion and accepting everybody is where they're at, but at my truth, I want more just and fair and balanced and loving relationships, could help a person get more being up in their head, because Aquarius is represented by the 5 and the 6 of the 7 of swords, and kind of how different things that we want and different people in our life can kind of get us up in our head. And sometimes we kind of didn't want to see the truth either about how we were living our life or other people in our life. But eventually it's kind of like we listen to our intuition and maybe can't keep staying in denial of the truth anymore. And maybe seeing that, some of the people in our life, their idea of the dream life and what they think is just and fair of how to conduct themselves in relationships, we could have mental conflict with it. That's kind of not our truth. And Libra in the King of Swords can kind of be about our truth. And our truth can be different. And again, some people think it's just and fair just to wear a mask. Can't I just present myself as more just and fair and loving and mature, but not be? you know? And then it's kind of like we can be in a relationship with people, and the moon can be about creating an illusion. If I feel like I know the truth that someone is more bossy or controlling or prideful or immature or egotistical or self-centered or materialistic, I might not want to hang out with them, because I kind of help create an illusion about who they are. And then maybe some of the people that I know and love might think that, oh, that person must be a more just, fair, emotionally mature, loving person. And you kind of know they're not. And it's like, why am I hanging out with people like this? It's like providing a cover or a beard for other people. And it's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And maybe speak my truth in love, maybe to those people, maybe to some other people, you know, or not speak your truth to anybody, but everybody else can find out. I feel like in my intuition, I know that some of those people aren't who they present themselves as being. So, and in a way, everybody else has their own opinion. And, like, we've all been at stages of our life, and we've known people in our life where people can tell you, oh, why are you hanging out with that person? And you shouldn't hang out with that person. And, we did. And other people are going to also, and sometimes we know those people, and other people have their own lessons to learn and to make their own decisions, and we all have things to learn about people who are maybe more deceptive or manipulative or prideful or egotistical. And Some people don't see it because they've had less experience dealing with people like that. Well, they might need to go learn that lesson on their own because, sometimes people could try to, just like probably some of us went through in our life at different stages in our life, oh no, they're not like that. Oh no, they're wonderful. Oh no. It's like, okay, they're going to have to go on that journey themselves. But for the people that we know, we can be trying to, we can only do what we can do. Listen to our intuition, keep our distance from people who we think are being more shadowy Scorpio, more superficial, more shallow. Um, kind of dead energy, not creative, not inspired, not willing to get out of their defensive nature, their ego nature, don't grow and heal and mature themselves. They could kind of stay in dead and stagnant energy. And sometimes when some other people are moving forward, loving themselves, being more balanced within themselves, listening to their intuition, other shadowy people are upset about that because they can't maybe manipulate you to get you to indulge them. And then they're mad, and that can be what the Queen of Swords, male or female, that some people can feel. If people didn't maintain more balance within themselves and love themselves and listen to their intuition, they would be more susceptible to being manipulated by shadowy people. And sometimes, it can be hard because we can love people, whether they're your adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, long-term friend, romantic partner. Maybe, people can change over time. Maybe some people weren't a little more shadowy, but as we kind of go down the road of life, if we're not kind of putting in work and effort to have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in others and in love, we can kind of tip our life out of balance and kind of drive our life into the ditch and become more defensive, competitive, envious, jealous, more self-consumed or something. And sometimes people aren't the people that they used to be. And it can be hard if we love them, but we've probably all experienced that with some people in our life. It's like, I can love you, but I'm going to keep my distance from you. Am I still maybe with some of the people willing to kind of be a loving and encouraging person in their life? Yeah, just like you can be that way with anyone, you know? But am I going to want to be in a more involved relationship with you? No. So let's go look at the bottom row. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Rest and Rejuvenation card, which I view as the Four of Swords, which is also Libra energy. If you're a loving person, a lot of times you can think that you can heal other people. That's what the Four of Swords talks about. Like you can illuminate other people to the truth. But, those people have to be inspired kind of within themselves to even want to heal. Whatever it is that keeps them out of balance. And the truth, you have to deal with the truth. And that's also what High Vibe Libra talks about. And shadowy energy can talk about that some people, they don't want to see the truth. They could be defensive to love. They could be defensive to seeing at a core foundational level that they kind of think it's just and fair to create an illusion in a relationship. And they could just think everybody does that everybody's more defensive to love, that everybody is more about their own self-interest. Well, other people have learned some lessons in life. They've healed. They've healed their own wounded inner child. They've dealt with the truth of their more immature, shadowy ways of being, dealt with past pain and heartbreak of other people in their life that were more defensive or prideful or hurtful or caught up in themselves or the world. And those people really are motivated and inspired by love. And they do treat other people the way they like to be treated. And it's working cooperatively together and listening more to love and intuition to guide you in that relationship instead of like mentally strategizing. Both Aquarius and Libra are air sign energy, and anyone, regardless of what zodiac sign they are, in their air sign energy within themselves, they might feel more comfortable living more from their mind than their heart. And if they have decided it's kind of more about shadowy moon card, can be about trying to manipulate people, that they could think that's what everyone does. They could think love isn't an illusion because that's not their truth. But in a world of duality where we have free will choice, there's going to be people in the world who are more motivated at a core foundational level to want and inspired to work together with people, like working together with other people in a just and fair and loving way. They've kind of tempered their more being more about themselves, wanting it to be more about them. Um, again, have worked through some of their shadow natures of whatever could make them more defensive to being open to love. And some other people somewhere along the way kind of gave up on that. And they think that's just and fair. And we have to see the truth of it. And it can be very hard to accept the truth that some of the people in our life who at one time, Aquarius again being represented by the star card, and Libra being about justice and fairness, there's people in our life that we thought we were going to have a dream come into reality with them. Again, friend or family member or romantic, that we thought they were going to be in our life forever and that we were always going to work together in a more just and fair and loving way. Let's go look at the rest of the bottom row. We have the Patience card, the Angel of Love, the sixth chakra, which is kind of how you use your mind and your intuition. And then we have the third chakra, which is Leo energy. At least that's how I view it. The first chakra can be at a core foundational of ourself. Have we learned to meet, maybe love ourselves and kind of meet our own basic needs? And then in the second chakra, it can be that we want to be in a relationship with other people. And then in the third chakra, it can kind of be in our Leo energy, kind of what really more authentically drives and motivates us and what we want to manifest moving forward. Kind of like what we want to give birth to. And sometimes, people can be inspired to want to be in relationships. Everybody can like to be in relationships. As a human being, we want to be in friendship and relationship with people and maybe have a job, right? For some of that stability and security at a core foundational level. And so, just like high vibe people want to be in friendship and relationship and have some ways to meet their financial needs, so do more worldly, shadowy people. Some people, if they feel like Leo can represent that people do kind of seem victorious and successful, and people could in some way kind of look like a shining star in the world and kind of look like they have justice in the world. And some people could feel that way about themselves for a variety of reasons. High vibe or more worldly focused people. They could have status, image, attractive, charming, social clout, something, right? But the shadowy people, that is what they think is the primary thing they have to offer people. High vibe people might have some of those traits, characteristics, assets, and they can, be appreciative that they have some of those things, and they might have worked hard to have some of those things. But they think the most valuable thing they have to offer people is the fact that they're a just and fair and authentic and loving person. High vibe Leo. High vibe Libra. They've learned to love themselves, because I view high vibe Leo as learning, shedding light and love on these things of our past that made us feel betrayed and heartbroken, and our more worldly perspective and egoic perspective, to be illuminated to the truth and to heal, to deal with the truth, and realize love is what makes it all worthwhile. And that in high vibe Scorpio is, I don't want to disconnect from my emotions. I don't want to keep my emotions buried beneath the surface. In tarot, we talk about the four elements: our heart and our mind and our 3D nature and our creative, passionate nature. You know, all those four aspects are a part of me. At different times in my life, I could have invested more in different areas and kind of invested more time and effort to grow and mature in those four different areas of my life. But hopefully, if you keep learning lessons in life, you come to realize that, and then with the rest and rejuvenation and high vibe of the Four Swords, that all four are equally important. If I go make my life about three of them, one or two or three of them, and I think one of them is less important, my life's going to be out of balance. And I'm missing out on an aspect of myself that I don't like invest in. And that's what some people do. Nope, not going to do love. No, I get hurt doing love. And plus, Scorpio talks about the fact that we are these emotionally complex human beings, and it can be really confusing at times. We can have a lot of different thoughts and feelings about people. I love them, I hate them, I don't ever want to talk to them, I hope they call me tomorrow. And some people could have just decided, nope, that's it, that's too confusing. Nope, I'm going to kind of keep my emotional nature, be defensive to it. I'm going to keep that buried under the surface. And that's also what the moon can talk about. So they kind of go out in the world wearing a false mask, trying to give the impression that they are more balanced in all elements. But at a core foundational level, they think it's just and fair to hide their more authentic, loving nature. And so then it is them having this idea that I'm going to go out in the world operating more from my ego. I think I'm bright enough. I think I'm smart enough. I'll use my charm, my sexuality, my looks, my money, my words, my, how I know how to act like a loving person, because I've probably been around other loving people and I know how they act and react. I'll just go present myself like I harness high vibe Cancer energy. But they don't. And then they move forward with people in a relationship. And if the other people really are kind of motivated and inspired by love, it's kind of like at a core foundational level, those people could feel like the other people are just kind of creating an illusion. I think you're more interested of being in it. You could like me and I could like you, and it's good for the ego and the image, and it might look victorious and successful in a lot of ways, and you could think that's a just and fair reason and good enough to be in a relationship. But if I've healed and I am harnessing high vibe Leo and Libra and Aquarius and Cancer and Pisces, and I'm authentically trying to work together with you from love in a just and fair way, being vulnerable, being authentic, but I'm kind of in a relationship with your false person, your more defensive person. No, gotta hide behind my ego. I can't let my more authentic nature come out to play in the world. Well, then it is kind of like being in a relationship with someone who's kind of creating the illusion of love, but they don't really do love. And then the relationship can't keep growing and maturing over time because they don't even let that aspect of themselves out in the world. And then it can seem like a more shadowy, both the Temperance card and the third chakra, viewing it as Leo, are fire sign energy. It can feel more like someone is either indulging you and kind of indulging themselves in the friendship or the relationship, or if it's romantic, sexually, but you don't feel like you have a more deep, meaningful relationship with them because they don't do a more deep, meaningful relationship, which is Scorpio energy, high vibe. And when some of these people get in a relationship, it can all start out, we're trying to get to know each other. We got a lot of things to work out in a relationship, and people can stay in a relationship with these people for a long time. And again, some people wear a very good false mask, but when it gets to that point where you want it to be a more deep, meaningful relationship, that's when they could become defensive, more defensive than usual. And that's probably when they start to think too that, you've healed. You did, during the course of this friendship or relationship, learn to love and believe in yourself, heal from some past pain and heartbreak, get more balance within yourself. And they didn't. And they have no interest in doing that. So then they could look, and that's when you could kind of realize that, some people kind of use their intuition in a more shadowy way. Who do I think is patient and loving that maybe hasn't been illuminated to the truth about people like them? Who also maybe hasn't healed, who might feel betrayed, who might be looking for someone loving and nurturing, or at least who presents themselves that way. And in a lot of ways, they can be loving and nurturing, or you wouldn't have stayed in a relationship with them or a friendship for as long as you did. But eventually you start to realize that at a core foundational level, it is more about kind of more how it benefits them in their ego and their image and having someone to be in a friendship or relationship with, but they don't more authentically do love. And if some of you haven't been there, it might be hard to understand it until you go through it. But, all of us can want to be again in friendship and relationship. We're all kind of listening to our intuition about, I don't want to get in a relationship with someone who's already in a relationship. And we're kind of using our intuition about people and, who kind of seems to be more on the same page as us at any given time. But who's being more authentic? Who's more balanced? Who, again, if it's going to be a romantic relationship, it should be to get in it because of truth and love. And again, there's some people that they're not going to do love. So it is kind of, this makes logical, practical sense. You want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. We get along good enough. I like you. You like me. We have a lot of things in common. We should move forward in this. But the problem is eventually, what ultimately drives them, if it's not love, there's a Bible verse that talks about if you want to build a solid foundation, you have to build it on love. Then you're actually more emotionally, authentically invested in it. And some people don't even let themselves more emotionally invest in it authentically. It is shadowy Scorpio. Life's about death, sex, and taxes. Who am I going to have sex with? Well, how would that work? What do you like? What do you got? What do you like to do? I'm going to be in a relationship and I'm going to have sex with someone. Yeah, I'll have sex with you. I'll get in a relationship with you. As long as this is good for my ego and my image and, But shadowy people sometimes, they don't want to be in a relationship with someone like themselves. Because we can all want people to love us. So they want to try to find someone who's loving, who might have been betrayed, and go try to create the illusion that's the truth of who they are too. And the loving people get in a relationship and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm in a relationship with someone who's authentic and loving and just and fair, and they're maybe not like me, and maybe not more defensive and not bossy, not controlling, not stubborn, not trying to manipulate me. And it all works out great until the other people kind of start to see through the illusion. And that's when they're like, yep, I need to go find someone else to go get in a relationship with, because I'm not doing love. That requires me to get more balance, to deal with whatever reason it is why I don't, you know, work through these issues. But that takes work and effort. You'd have to look at some of those things that you keep buried in the dark to shed light on those things. Get out of your ego, get out of your defensiveness, and actually heal. But that takes work and effort. And that's when some people are like, no, I'll just go find someone else to get in a relationship. I don't think love is that important. And some of those people, you know, it's could find out that, some of them would be fine as long as they can just get in another relationship. I don't care. Is it good for my ego, my image, my status? Does that person seem to be patient and loving? Or for some of them, I am more about the world. And if I was in a relationship with loving people, and there could have been a lot of things that were good about it, but if love isn't the driving factor in my life, and maybe at a core foundational level, I'm more about my own stability and security, well, those people can go. And I'll go find someone who I think seems to have justice in the world, seems to have these things of the world, be like a shining star. And then they could think, I'll just present myself as loving to that person. And, a shadowy way of viewing life can be some way or another that someone is indulging another person. And they could think, if I have more of these things in the world than some other people, then I should be the more indulged person in the relationship. In my ego, I think that's just and fair. If the people I'm in a relationship with want me to work through my fears, my insecurities, my self-limiting beliefs or whatever, and be more just and fair, I could just either go try to find someone else and repeat that pattern, or they could think, I'd be willing to indulge someone. I don't really care. I'm going to have sex with someone, male or female. I'll go have sex with that person. If you're not being authentic anyway, and shadowy energy can be like you're just putting on a show, I'll just go put on a show with someone else. But they could go get in a relationship with other high vibe people. The same thing happens, because no matter how good a show they put on, what they can't control is that the people who are more aligned with truth and love listen to their intuition. And those people start to think, I don't think this is just and fair. This isn't my idea of the dream life. This might be your idea of the dream life. But love is more important to me, and I'm not willing to give up my dream. In my high vibe Aquarius energy, I have a dream. And I don't want to have to indulge someone who, in a more shadowy energy, I could feel is trying to manipulate and control me, manipulate my loving nature, manipulate the love that I have for them, the dream I want to manifest, what we have been manifesting. This is an injustice. It's not just and fair. Either people were kind of committing fraud when they got in it, or during the course of the relationship, they didn't keep putting in more work and effort and became more about themselves or caught up in other things, and kind of like it's not balanced anymore. It's become imbalanced, and that's not what I signed up for. And so the other people if they get in a relationship with someone who they think might be more driven and motivated by these things of the world, then they run the risk as they move forward. They're kind of both putting on a show, but neither of them are really in it for love. And it's always kind of looking out for themselves. What would be better for me? Well, what about if there someone else that's more fearful, more afraid, more codependent that I could get in a relationship with, and maybe it could be more about me? In any relationship, you're kind of having to work together with people, and sometimes people, they really want to not really have to put in the work and effort, want the other people to put in more of the work and effort. So it can always be looking to, could I go find someone else who's more fearful, more afraid, more heartbroken, more loving, whatever, where they would indulge me more? Because if you're not willing to do equal give and take with people, you kind of want to be indulged in a relationship, and where you're kind of the privileged, pampered person in the relationship. And if they have people in their life that right now seem to be defensive to listening to their intuition, are also defensive to love, well, then, it is a more just and fair relationship. They just might be people who are always kind of defensive to love and creating the illusion of love so long as it works for them. And I guess so long as it works for them, they'll stay in it. I'd much rather have people who are shadowy in a relationship with someone who's like themselves than trying to get in a relationship with people who are more just and fair and loving and authentic and trying to manipulate them, So let's go see what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio. They have learned some lessons about some people that they could have thought were more immature or egotistical or more about themselves. Maybe felt like they were a little deceptive and manipulative. And they're listening to their intuition, working more with the people who they think are more on the same page as them. The Two of Cups, the High Priestess, the Seven of Swords, and the reason is because of the Ten of Pentacles. So because the high vibe people, operate from their foundation, in their Virgo energy of themselves, they are motivated and inspired by truth and love. And the other people in their life could have harnessed a more worldly Virgo energy where their long-term goal is more driven and motivated, again, more by these things of the world. To be in a relationship, to create an illusion in a shadowy Seven of Swords of Aquarius energy. And the other people are like, I don't want to keep moving forward with people who I think are being deceptive and manipulative. And it's more for these worldly reasons. And the high vibe people did this inner work within themselves out of love for themselves, to listen to their intuition, get balance within themselves. And then in the Seven of Swords, the 5, the 6, and the 7 of Swords are all Aquarius energy. They're not willing to give up their dreams. And then we have the 2 of Swords up here in their Libra energy. I'm going to listen to my intuition, and my intuition tells me that some of the people in my life are hiding, is what the High Priestess can talk about, that they're more in love with the world or themselves or things in the world that they like to indulge in. And that's the foundation they operate from. And it's not, teach your own, but that's not my truth. That's not my idea of the dream life. I do want it more. High vibe 10 of Pentacles can be, yes, in my 5 of Pentacles philosophy of life as a human being, there are things of the world that I would like to manifest and that I want in my life. But I also, in my Five of Pentacles philosophy of life, of my loving, intuitive, creative, inspired nature, that I also want. And that's what I view as kind of like the dream life, a balance of both. And some people, they're like, nope. It's either all about me or it's all more about the world or these things they indulge in. And it's like, well, you do you, and I'm going to listen to my intuition. That's not my idea of the dream life, and I'm not willing to give up my dreams. I don't want to be in relationships with people who I think aren't being more authentic, more just and fair, more loving. If your truth is something else, the high vibe people offer love to the situation and themselves, but willing to see the truth. Your truth is different than my truth. Your long-term goals, how you want to invest in people, how you invest in people, why you invest in people, I think has this more ulterior purpose to it. I don't think it is really motivated by love. I think it's more about you or these things of the world. So the high vibe people are moving forward, maintaining balance, listening to their intuition, focusing more of their time, energy, on effort in the people in their life who they view as more being on that page, and kind of keeping their distance from people in their life who they don't think that's the truth of who they are. What's coming up for some of the people? Harness some more worldly, shadowy. And there could be, it's kind of like finding your tribe, your people who are more on the same page as you. When we quit investing and trying to change other people, heal other people, I can treat everybody in a just and fair and loving way. And then I kind of listen to my intuition about who seems to be more motivated and inspired to be that type of person with themselves, and in turn interact with me that way. Who seems to be putting on more of a show, but that's not really the truth. And periodically they could show me, and, and we can extend grace to people, but sometimes, the people who are loving, it's always trying to heal other people. It's like, I want justice in my life. I'm going to go find the people in the world who have healed and have also went through situations like this, to be in relationships with people who have learned some of the same lessons I've learned in life. So what's coming up for the people who might harness some more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy? We have the Four of Wands, the Three of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, and the reason is because of the King of Pentacles. Well, the Four of Wands can be about coming together with other people because, again, the King and Queen of Pentacles can be, they're the only married suit in the deck, but it can also talk about in workplaces, in friendships, in relationships. They want to be in relationship with other people, and part of it can be because they do look to other people to invest in them, because they don't kind of, in High Vibe Virgo, invest in themselves, because High Vibe Virgo is about doing this inner work within yourself, to work through your fears and your insecurities, feel more balanced and stable within yourself. And shadowy energy can be, well, I could do that, or I have an idea. I'm going to go do this instead. And that's when people just go get in a relationship to feel better, or focus on their status, their ego, their image, or things that they want to indulge in. All these other things in the world that they think are the answer that will make them happy, be the answer they're looking for, because they're defensive to seeing the truth that love is the answer. And it might, it starts within yourself. And they think, no, 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 I don't have to do that work to love myself. Like, that could be, they could even think that's just someone else's job. I've been in friendships or relationships or marriages, or grew up in a family where I didn't maybe have to heal and grow and mature myself. I shouldn't have to. That's someone else's job. They're supposed to love me. And that can be a more shadowy kind of being full of yourself. I don't have to do that. I think there's people who will want to be in a relationship with me. And again, maybe because of their image or their status or their attractiveness or because they have sex with people, you know? I just think what they don't see coming, they're dealing with people who, some of them are more high vibrational, some of them are more worldly and shadowy. You know, we always generally kind of can have a mix of different people in our life. They could always be surprised when some people in their life get motivated and inspired within themselves to heal and to love themselves. And then they want to move forward differently, and they don't want to keep living their life the same way they've been living it because they're not the same person that they were. When we heal or grow and mature ourselves, the truth sets us free. And Virgo is about doing that inner work to come out with that one pentacle. I'm not the same person I was. I look at life differently. I healed from some past pain and heartbreak. You know, something. And then they're not the same person that they were. They don't think the way they used to think. They don't feel the way they used to feel. Different, you know, we just grow up, and ways of living life and things I used to like to go do, you know, at that stage of life, I was like, yeehaw, yeah, this is just unfair. Well, I don't keep staying at that stage of life forever. And for some people, that could really surprise them when people do that because they don't do that. And they could wonder why other people even get inspired to deal with some of that stuff they keep buried beneath the surface. They have no interest in looking at it of their own. But that's a problem. Other people do. And then they're mad. They're mad that other people love themselves enough to not kind of stay dead and stagnant and to keep facing their fears, to keep growing and maturing themselves. And some of these people, it's like, what more is there? If I have a job, if I'm in a relationship, I'm doing this, I'm good. Well, they could just be people who, you know, again, they're just more inspired by the world, by themselves, these things they indulge in, and they're not even inspired to go explore the mysteries of life emotionally or themselves. Could just be people who really like to stay in their comfort zone and repeat an old pattern over and over and over. You know, never change, never do anything different. And other people could get tired of that, right? But they maybe never get tired of it. They love it. And that's fine. They just need to find other people who love it. And like maybe either being more about them, more about the things they indulge in, make their life more about these things of the world, maybe just conforming to the world. Not high vibe energy is about living your more authentic truth from love, where you're less manipulated by your ego or the world and tempted to make your life more about just conforming to the world, where I just want to live my authentic truth. But you know, all these things that we can make our life about can kind of, if we make them too important, it starts to stifle us and kind of runs our life. And when did it be that I've decided I don't want to be in that organization anymore? And I think I'd like to go do something different. And the other people could go, oh, how could you possibly not do this anymore? Or be in this activity, or quit this organization, or change your job, or listen to your intuition, or become more independent of us. You know, it can be a lot of groupthink. And some people are very manipulated by that. And it's always, for some people, their whole life is about trying to create this illusion about who they are in the world, thinking that's the most important thing. How about you go live your authentic life from love? Well, Libra energy which anybody, again, in their Libra energy within themselves, can be more about a person's trying to people please people, and like our public politician persona. I can't invest in my truth, live my authentic life, invest in my dreams, because there can be people who, well, you're not conforming to whatever, and again, it's kind of like all these things up in their head that they tell themselves, are other people who could belong to some of the same organizations and that they know those people could be living their more authentic life and are less up in their head about being so concerned about their image and how people perceive them, and they do go live their more authentic life. But some people, and some people aren't comfortable doing that, and so they like to hide behind their ego. But then there might be people that they're not even in relationship with because, well, those people, they're not, what would people say? Or some of these people don't like them, but they could love them. But they're not even going to be in a friendship or relationship with them because, well, that doesn't quite fit. And there's other people maybe in my life who, well, that's their free will. Some of them are moving forward in relationships right now, hiding, kind of viewing the 6 chakras, kind of like the high priestess, hiding the truth of how they'd really like to go live their life, because they make their life more about conforming to the world or other people in their life and how those people live their life. And while they do that, the other people get over it. And if they were a romantic interest in their life, and they work through the confusion and the illusion of it, I see that you are more about those things, and those people get clear about their truth and kind of see through the illusion. My dream can't come into reality with you because of these things that manipulate you, that you obviously keep deciding to keep manipulating you. So I wish you peace and love, but I'm closing out this chapter in my life to go have a new beginning. In the Ace of Swords, the Queen holds the 1 sword, the King of Cups holds the 1 cup. I have a dream. I'm going to go out in the world, close out this chapter behind me, to invest in people who are more independent, more balanced within themselves, open to love, more willing to listen to their intuition, less about conforming to the world, less fearful, less maybe manipulated or manipulative, less about, people who are more authentic can be very victorious and successful in the world. But it's just that not letting other people pigeonhole them, like if they start doing something, well, you need to do this every Saturday, and oh, you need to do this, and there can always be people who try to make us, I don't know, make life more like how they live life. And it's like, I just kind of listen to my intuition. Did I enjoy that? Yeah. But there's other things also that I want to go do, and it's like, oh, but we all do this every Wednesday or every Saturday or the first Saturday of the month or whatever. It's like, well, that's great. I hope you enjoy it. I won't be there. Maybe next time, maybe not. And, other people, it just ends up, sometimes it's like looking to get more people to conform with it. And other people are like, I listen to my intuition. My intuition tells me that I've kind of learned what I needed to learn here. I offer people truth and love, see if they want to move forward with me in some way and with some other things I'm doing. And if they don't, that's fine. I'm not going to get all up in my head about it. I'm going to keep moving forward and live my truth. And they can live their truth. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.